I'm doing a little video to show you guys how to clean and upkeep the rotary cutter so that you always get really nice cuts on your projects. So there's a couple of parts that are cleanable and then also replaceable. So we'll go through each of those things. This is the blade that when you push down, the blade depresses and cuts your media. Beneath that is a mat, okay? And that provides a cushioning surface for the rotary blade as it cuts along your paper so that it's not just hitting on a hard surface underneath. So never use the equipment without the mat in place. So periodically, especially after using it for a few days, so this could be done once a week, you'll want to clean out the mat area and also look at the mat for wear and rotate it to a new side that is not so worn. And I'll explain to you what that means. So if your clamp is down, you want to unclamp it so that the part comes up. And use your finger, there's a little groove here to remove the mat. Okay. So we're going to take that out. We're going to inspect the mat and look at it for a deep groove. So you can see on the left, there's a pretty deep groove there. So we don't want to be using this side anymore because it's already worn out. The other side doesn't look so bad. It's just covered with dust. If we get in a bit closer, you can see there's a little bit of a crack there. It's not so bad, but maybe we might not want to use it. So I'm going to flip it over and see how it looks on the other side. Now you can see that this one here is cracked. So on that side, so we absolutely cannot use that side anymore. It just does not provide the cushioning for the blade. The other side though, what is on the left here, doesn't look so bad. We can get in a bit closer. In fact, it looks like it hasn't even been used. So we're going to set it up to use that side. Now you see all the residue that's on here. So we're going to want to clean that off because you don't want to be using it while it's got all that dirt on it. So I'm going to grab a tissue here. See if I can do that with two hands. And we're going to clean off the residue. Both sides, because you need for the mat, you need for the mat to sit properly in its groove. And if it's got residue on it, it can't do that. And ooh, yeah, that was quite dirty. Right, so before I put that back in place though, see all that? All those little bits, they have to go. So I'm gonna use a vacuum with a little attachment on the end. Now this is it's actually quite dirty because this hasn't been cleaned in a while. So see all that stuff is still stuck in there. So we are gonna have to get in there and clean it properly. So I'm gonna try with a little tissue here and see if that helps. Let's see. All right, so that's looking a little better now. So now I'm gonna put the mat back in its place. But remember, we want to use one of the sides that doesn't have a whole lot of wear. That was a side that had a lot of wear on it. This side here on the left doesn't look so bad, so we're going to use that. So I want to position it so that the blade, which you know is right here, right, falls on the unused side. So in this case, I'm going to want to put it in this way. Make sure it's sitting properly in the groove, and my unused side is closest to the outside. That's how you know that you have it positioned in the right way. All right, so that is done. This exercise should be done, on a weekly basis because of the use that this machine gets, and always looking at the mat and flipping it over on itself. There's two ways to flip it, right? Just get that back out here, right? So you can There's actually 4 sides because each of these sides has 2, a right edge and a left edge. And then when you flip it, it has a right edge and a left edge as well. So you have 4 times that you can use this before you have to discard it. Right? So let's put that back in here. By the way, how this one is split almost the entire length, you don't ever want it to get that way because A, it doesn't protect the blade, but there's no way that your cuts are going to be really nice. They're going to be a little bit fuzzy on the side, right? So you always want to keep an eye on the mat. It's really easy to replace and really easy to flip around so that you get a really good cut. All right. So the other thing that is a part that we need to check and clean is the actual blade itself. And to open that, you really just need a coin. You can use a flathead screwdriver, but you don't even need that. And you're gonna just turn these a little bit to loosen them up. And then once you've done that, you just unscrew it by hand. Just don't drop it. This comes right off, and there's the blade. You can see it's really dirty. However, the blade itself still looks to be okay. So we're not going to replace the blade. So we do have spares, right? Replacements. But we're not going to replace this whole part. We're just going to give it a little clean because see all of this? It's just some gunky, just, residue that happens over time. So to clean that, you can use a little alcohol swab. Those little alcohol pads that are available in first aid kits, or you grab a little tissue and you put some alcohol on it. Put alcohol on this swab. I'm going to try to do this with one hand, which is going to be hard. So I'm going to put the phone down a second, but I think you guys can imagine what I'm doing. So that's looking a little better now. Mind your fingers, of course, while you're doing this, but you don't want to have all of that residue there because it doesn't allow the blade to roll smoothly in its little compartment there. So now we're going to put the blade back, and you're just going to do the steps in reverse. Just make sure that that sits in there snugly. Whoops. Okay, so make sure it just clips in place, right, that it's lined up here. And then put these back in. You can give them a little hand tighten. They don't need to be tightened with a screwdriver or anything. This is totally fine. So just hand tighten is good. And yeah, that's it. So that's how you would open that to clean the blade, check the blade, and replace it if you needed to. So now our cutter is ready, with the exception of we've got all kinds of residue here. So this will happen with every job that you cut. So it is really after every use, you do have to clean it, right? If you can grab a vacuum, that's the easiest way to do it. You can use a damp cloth as well, just to catch everything. So I'm just gonna grab my vacuum here again and clean that up. So that's looking a lot better now.